Incremental greetings. Today I want to share something with you about asemantic learning. Today I realized that I fully process this branch of figure of speech, at least the lists of schemes and tropes. And actually, I did that on purpose as an experiment. I know this will be very semantic. First, it's a list. What, two lists? Secondly, it's asemantic by nature because it's discouraging advice given by seeming sagacity. The Horatio, I don't even know how it is pronounced. Sometimes comes from Latin, sometimes from Greek, or a combination of both. Another example, replacing a phrase of text second part that would have been logically expected. Parhyponian, or whatever it is called, with a this is weird to have an apostrophe like this. So I did this on purpose. As you can see, that's not new. So I was expecting a high forgetting index and a high lapse count because I will keep forgetting this. First, you will see that I make the examples. It's okay, let me see one example of this, right? Replacing na 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 and identifying what it is. That will be what I will do in real life if it was incremental reading. I did not. I just limited myself to process the list. So, can you guess what happened? First, this knowledge has an extremely obscure applicability in my case because I'm not into rhetoric or this kind of thing. So the times I will apply this knowledge is close to none. Then let me filter this. Okay. And then I'm sorting by lapses. And look, all of these are lapses. Lapse. Let me see. Pum pum pum. 96 items out of 272 are lapsed. That is a bad performance. Also, given the standards of this collection, that's a poor performance. And you can see what fits on the screen. It is not just lapsed, it's lapsed enough to call it a leech, right? Or semi leech. So, can you get, let's see the statistics. So basically, the retention rate is still quite high. I was expecting less than that. In this collection, I have 97% ish performance, and that's 89.7%, so almost 90. I'm actually surprised it's that high. But look at the forgetting index. The requested it's 10%, the default, and baboom is 20%, double. So the algorithm is still catching up performance because it has to guarantee a requested index of 10%, which is not the case. And look, at the first repetition, it's 35%. Wow, that's very high. But there's something else surprising here on all these stats. Look at the item A factor. The A factor is somewhat the same as E's in Anki, 5.7, almost 8. The maximum is 6.9. It's crazy high, absolutely crazy high. So the question that it raises is, how come I have such a high A factor and kind of high retention rate if I'm lapsing so much, right? 5.7, 90%, and 24 getting index. Gotcha. So let's do a subset of this. And just let me select what I have lapsed three times. Let's see what happens now with stats. Retention rate is lower. Yeah, I was expecting that. The measure for getting index is higher. It's not just 20, it's 30%. Makes sense. But look, why on earth I have an A factor of 6.1, almost 6.2? Please tell me why. So, my reading is that those items that are heavily lapsed have a higher average for A factor. Keep in mind, those 42 elements were computed in the average of 272, and the average was 5.7, almost zero point 0.8. 6 point almost 2 where the maximum is 6.9. That's massively high. Why am getting A factors that high on such a low performance items? And I can guarantee those have just three lapses, but that's because the first rep, if you see, yeah, some are from February and so on. So some are more some items are more recent. So therefore, I even haven't had enough natural time to leach those items even more. But I can guarantee that I will keep leaching because, for instance, now if I Panodos, no clue what it is, so I already forgot what it is. So let's go to the A factor. So that's the A factor. In my collection at this stage, that now I have to edit a lot and I have a split the English, I peak at 5.7, which is high. Okay, to keep the comparison, the default in Anki it's 2.5. So it will be like that, like here. Cool. So I'm getting 6.1, more or less like here. Why on earth I'm getting those A factors when I keep leeching and leeching those elements? I have one explanation, and that's why I'm making this video today. Because I will check this video myself in the future. Why I think there's an explanation. Because I have done many repetitions for English items, which are easy. And quantity wise, the English items are most of 80% of my repetitions. So therefore, most of what's computed on the average will come from the English. Will come from rather easy or easy items. Most of the English items are easy. So as I kept doing repetitions, in my case, 160,000, I kept pushing and pushing the average a factor because I was not forgetting. Therefore, my memory was, according to SuperMemo, was better and better every time, right? That I can push the next interval and the user will still remember, right? What happened with items that were not from English, right? That I get a super boost that it's not likely I will have the same degree of retention. Let's do something that is the opposite, right? That is very hard to remember. It's very semantic, as I have shown to you, and I lapse it. I still have increasing A factors because when I lapse something, look at that, how many lapses I have. Look at the difficulty 100%, 100%, and I just do one successful repetition and it just lowers to 60 something percent. Here also 60 something, 60 and 50. The default is 50%. So that means that even if I lapse the card 5 times or 6 times, I only need one or two successful repetitions to have a value that it is as nothing happened, as if it was 50 to begin with. And the current interval and the stability have even out. There's no huge mismatch, which could happen like this, for instance, it's 10 and 20 something. And what I will do is I will also reset some values, some parameters like here, and see what happens. Will SuperMemo still get crazy A factors, crazy intervals, or it will change? So that is at some degree an incremental experiment. That's the first video, and I needed like 9 months of work to get there to process all that branch. So I could guess that I will leave it 9 months more and see what happens. Take home message is that the underlying point here is that, and something that I don't like, that your performance, how SuperMemo collects your performance and adjusts the algorithm, it's collection wise. I would like this to be concept wise because it will either force me to use different collections for something that's very different of difficulty or semantic nature and so on, just for the sake of getting those values, those calculations right on every collection. Or having all on the same place. But but how the correlation will work is that if there's something predominant, quantity count, quantity based, that will be it. In my case, it's been English. That's what I don't like. But just to be sure, I will do it again. And just a reminder, what you see here is not meaningful because when I deleted the English items, well, I didn't delete them. I just keep them in a different collection. I reset the retention rate. But before setting the retention rate, which by the way, it has been actually today, some hours ago, and nothing more to add today. See you in 9 months or something, and let's see what will be the answer.